can't comment on exchange.
Funny, so a lot of people just want to like
As many smart contracts as you want, and you can
Hi, I'm Alex. I actually originally started at Dragonchain as its own company back in 2017, September of 2017, right before we launched our token sale. But I actually started working for the Dragonchain project back when it was still incubated by Disney back in September of 2016. So I worked for Joe for about 2.5, 3 years already, and it's been a great experience watching the company grow.
I'm a customer success assistant. I was actually hired like a month ago. This is my first month, so exciting stuff, starting a new career. What I do here at Dragonchain, I do a lot of, I guess, answering a lot of questions about user interface or user issues. So I'm constantly discussing new things with the engineering team, marketing team, or administrative team.
We do have a Slack channel open for our Dragonchain developer community, and it was created a while back, but now it is currently invite only. So it's more of a one-on-one with the developer community so that we can help them more closely on creating their own unmanaged nodes and and any technical issues with Kubernetes, with the software since we wrote it, and you get more prompt support.
My daily routine would be pretty much talking to the users, kind of explaining in detail or answering their problems or issues that they have that they're running into the platform. I'm still learning, so I'm learning a lot from Alex, from a lot of the dev team. I'm learning a lot from the administrative side too, like Philip and you guys actually from the marketing. So just trying to dive in and get more familiar with the whole platform so that I can better answer your guys' questions.
Yeah, so the common questions we've received in actually specifically the open source Slack channel would be more Kubernetes questions because it's such a new technology to even us as a company to actually spin up Dragonchain nodes. And a lot of people have questions, and we do our best to assist with those. As for general support questions, everything from claiming a user's wallet to verifying that payouts are actually happening through the system, even if they might be minuscule. Just kind of all around, if a user reports a bug or anything they find, we do our due diligence in investigating it.
The most common question is actually wallet verification. A lot of users have trouble verifying their wallets and claiming their wallets. I would say with our signature method, it works pretty well. But we are coming out with a new feature where users can actually claim and verify their wallet on the console. Yeah, I think that's about to come out real soon. So I look forward to that very much. Another frequently asked question I get is them having issues with a broken console. And sometimes it can be a little difficult to answer that question, and I try my best to get to these answers as fast and best as I can. But specifically, maybe what's wrong with your console, or instead of saying, "Oh, I can't get into this part of my console or this part of my account," maybe diving into the details so that I can better answer and answer more quickly for you guys. So if it's a more technical question, I'll probably end up asking Alex or the development team to look into that issue. But definitely diving into the detail of that issue, whether it needs to be fixed through coding or whether it's just a simple matter of answer that I know, where it can be fixed without any coding influence, you could say. So my process is kind of determining where the problem can be fixed first, and if the user can actually fix it themselves right there on their console.
When problems come up, there's always general information that is needed, like before we can help someone. Like someone can't be like, help, someone spilled my milk or something. Like, what's their username? What's their Ethereum address? What's their email? Even that. Just getting basic information like that. And Sam has done a great job with this on getting this information for the user, which helps us reproduce the problem. Because the only way that we can fix it is we can actually reproduce it and find out if there actually is a bug or if things are operating just as usual, and as it should be. The more information that the dev team gets, the quicker we can actually respond and help the user out. Because we do take time out of our day to address users' issues because we want to make the console experience and the whole experience of Dragonchain a lot better. We're always improving.
I've definitely set a time with certain higher ups or certain people that are more advanced in this platform, and we kind of discuss the issues that users are facing, and we kind of discuss what solutions, best solutions that we can have for them, best, fast, efficient solutions that we can come up is generally what we end up with, or what we try to come up with. So,
yeah, we've even discussed creating an FAQ page. Maybe if it's not, whether it be in company or like out to the public about like common issues that we've come across, because there have been a ton of repeat issues, and it's not anyone's fault. We need, but it makes it easier for you to find a solution to a problem that's already happened. So we are gonna start doing our best on documenting these issues that have been brought to us and what the course of action was to resolve these and I feel like that would help your job a lot and
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I try my best to answer these users with what I'm given.
Yep.
But I think over time we can kind of see like an occurrence of certain problems and certain issues.
Yeah.
And I think at that point it just becomes second nature to help these users out with either an FAQ, or I could step in as a customer success assistant. I'm always glad to help and kind of put my input in terms of helping the users have a better experience.
Even though I've been in the space for like over 2.5 years, like there's still so much new coming out every day, and just in general, like learning about blockchain, it's always evolving, and so I mean, you got to do your due diligence and do your research. If there's an issue that comes up, you go and read a blog at night or something after hours. It's just whatever it does. Learning is always better. So that always helps with coming up with the issue, and then you can reattack the question with more information the next day if you don't know anything.
I totally agree with Alex, what he said. Fortunate for me, I work here, so I have more information to work with, and I have great teachers like Alex. Like this morning, we discussed an issue and about best possible solution that we could come up with. I will say it's a difficult concept, the whole concept of blockchain. But the more you research, the more you dive into it, it just becomes easy, and you're kind of getting used to it. And so I would say just do your due diligence in terms of your research and just explore. I think that's the only way to get better with pretty much anything that you do.
Feel very fortunate and just blessed that we're able to innovate.
And this team has really brought forward things that aren't available, so I'm going to brag on the team's behalf, that aren't available in other blockchains. You can run smart contracts. Everybody knows what a smart contract is? It's the programs that make the blockchain run in any language. You don't need a specialized language to run it. And that is unique.
It's been an awesome challenge for the past 2 years, something I'm really proud of. If you take a look at our suite of products, you can see a lot of effort has gone into this stuff. From the UI all the way down to being able to spin up your blockchains easily, which was actually something we really cared about. How do you write your smart contracts in whatever code you want? You don't have to learn Solidity or something new. So we put a lot of thought into try and make this a really, really quality product that devs want to use.
We had this this open house because we've been here for a year. We've been commercial for 2 years, and we've had independence from Disney for 3 years. Last year, I want to recognize the dev team that has been building stuff constantly for a little more than 2 years, and doing amazing job. Compare it to any project I've ever been on, and I've been on a lot of projects. This is the best team I've ever worked with.
Welcome, I'm Danny Leckie with Dragonchain. Today we're going to walk through a command line tool that we call the DCTL tool, which will help us get started within Dragonchain in a really fast, expedited, accelerated way. And so what we're going to go ahead and do today is set up a level 1 private node on Dragonchain Cloud on our BAS service. We're going to go ahead and install the DCTL tool, create a transaction type, create our first transaction, and then query those transactions. And that will set us going on Dragonchain on a level 1 node so we can validate and verify transactions. So let's go ahead and get started. You can go to dragonchain.com and click the Get Started button to provision a new account into the Dragonchain. Let's go ahead and enter in our name, our company, and an email address. And let's go ahead and enter in a password and create the account. Now, when it sends when you click the create account, it's going to go ahead and send a verification code over to the email address that you entered. Let's go ahead and open up that verification address, copy it over, and then paste it into the box itself. And we can go ahead and confirm the account. This is going to bring us into the Getting Started page of Dragonchain. There's a couple of different options that you have for creating a chain. You can create a managed chain. This would be Dragonchain hosting the service itself in a managed software as a service or a blockchain as a service type model. You could also register an unmanaged chain if you wanted to host something on-premise, if you're running Kubernetes and wanted to run Dragonchain in your own private cloud or your on-premise solutions. Today what we're going to go ahead and do is the cloud solution. So let's go ahead and click Start Developer Plan. And when you click that, it brings us into a page where we can go ahead and create a chain. Now we're going to go ahead and name a chain. In this case, I'm just going to call it My Chain. And we'll go ahead and click the Create Manage L1 Chain. And what this does is it returns back a set of API keys and how we can connect into it. We really simplified this down by making a downloadable file, so we can go ahead and just click download, and we can go ahead and save that file. We're going to use these keys later on to be able to configure the DCTL tool. Let's go ahead and close this box down. And we can see that the chain itself is initializing. It normally takes about 10 minutes for an L1 chain to initialize for the first time. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get started with the DCTL tool. So if we go to the Dragonchain repository on GitHub, that's github.com/Dragonchain, you can see a number of different projects or repositories that we have in here. And here's the DCTL toolkit itself. If we click on DCTL, we can take a look at the README file, and we can see the system requirements for setting up Dragonchain. In this case, it requires node and npm. So let's go ahead and open up a command prompt, and on the command prompt, we're going to go ahead and just see if node is installed. So we're going to type node -v, and that should return back a version. In this case, it's 10.15. And we also need npm, so let's go ahead and type npm -v. And in this case, it returned back 6.4.1. And so both node and npm are installed on my box. So if you didn't have node or npm installed, you could go to nodejs.org and install it. The package right here, this 12.11.1 is a current package. You can install it both for Windows, Macs, or get the source code. This package installs both npm and Node.js, so there's only a single package to install. And then once it's available, you're ready to install the DCTL tool. Now, it's as simple as just typing in npm install -g DCTL, and that will go ahead and install a package. So let's go ahead and do that, npm install -g DCTL, and this pulls a package from npm. Should be finishing up in just a couple seconds, and there we go. It is done, and it took just 5.5 seconds to download the package, and it's all set. Now, if I type DCTL, I should get some responses back, and I can see all the commands here. If I type DCTL -V, it returns back the version. Now, if I go ahead and do DCTL -status, it'll tell me that it's missing a configuration file. That's because I haven't loaded any of those API keys, those HMAC keys that we downloaded previously. So let's go ahead and get started with loading up the keys so we can connect into our L1 chain. And DCTL, and there's a command called creds. Creds will allow us to add a Dragonchain. So if I type DCTL creds -add, it will give us a set of commands to be able to enter. Let's go ahead and just type help to get the syntax of it. So in this case, what we're going to go ahead and do is type DCTL cred add. We want to go ahead and type in the Dragonchain ID. So to do that, let's go ahead and open up this file. We're going to go ahead and take the Dragonchain ID, which was in the square brackets from that master's file. We're going to go ahead and click that, and we're going to also use a endpoint, the endpoint API. So let's go ahead and grab that, starting at the HTTPS all the way to the api.dragonchain.com. And so let's go ahead and do space -e, and we're going to go ahead and paste in the api.dragonchain.com URL. And it's going to prompt us for our HMAC key ID. So we're going to go ahead and pull that from the file itself. That's the shorter key ID, and we're going to go ahead and copy that, paste that into the key ID, and let's go ahead and copy the auth key from the master file and paste that in there. And it's now set up the credentials files. And so now if I do a DCTL space status, you can now see that it's connecting into my L1 chain with the ID that starts with 27. And so now I'm able to actually query the key. If I wanted to take a look at more at the creds, I could do something like DCTL K for creds and do an ls to take a look at all the chains that I have configured within my credential files. I only have one chain right now, which is the default chain starting with 27. Before I can create a transaction on my chain, I need to create a transaction type. So let's go ahead and do that. So in this case, let's just go ahead and type DCTL, and there's a command called TT, or transaction type. And transaction type lets me do a command called create. So DCTL TT create And in this case, what I'm going to just do is call it Super Happy Dragon Lucky, SHDL. And that's going to go ahead and create my first transaction type on my chain. If I did a DCTL transaction type LS, it'll go ahead and list all the transaction types on there. There's only one transaction type, but I could create other different types of transactions. So let's just go ahead and create another type of transaction. Let's just call this one JoJo. And so now I have two transaction types on my chain. If I do a DCTL TT space LS, I can see that there is a JoJo transaction type and an SHDL transaction type. Now, let's go ahead and create our first transaction. To do that, we're going to go ahead and type DCTL, and there is a command called transaction. And we can do a transaction create. And to do a transaction create, it asks for a number of different commands. So in this case, it's going to ask for a transaction type. We're going to call this one Super Happy Dragon Lucky. We're going to call the payload. In this case, let's go ahead and do a curly bracket. And because I'm in Windows, I need to escape my quotes. But this is just a key value pair, so let's do escape quote, and I'll just do name, and let's go ahead and escape that, put a colon in there, and in this case, let's go ahead and escape that colon, and my name is Danny. We'll go ahead and escape that and colon, and wrap it up with a curly bracket, and let's give it a tag actually too. So let's give it a tag of name, a first name, and now let's go ahead and hit enter, and I can see that it gave me a 201, that the status was successful, and then I got a transaction ID back. So now if I wanted to go ahead and take a look at that transaction, I could do a DCTL and I could do a DCTL transaction, and there's a transaction get, and I could do a get and the actual transaction number or ID that I had from down up above, paste it in there, and it returns back the header information with the tags that I put in there of first name. It gives me the payload of my name being Danny and the proof that that transaction took place and that the transaction was successful. Now, if I wanted to create another transaction, I could go ahead and create a transaction. In this case, let's go ahead and call this one a JoJo type. And since it's a JoJo type, let's just call the name Joe itself. And it went ahead and created a JoJo type of transaction called with the name of Joe. So we can go ahead and create another transaction type in the JoJo type, and we can call that one Brandon, and press enter, and it also returns back another transaction type for me. So now if I wanted to go ahead and query those transactions, we can go ahead and do DCTL, and we can do DCTL transaction type, and there's a query command. Query commands require a transaction type, so in this case we're going to go ahead and do JoJo, and the query that we're going to do is just first name, right? The tag that we entered in before. And what's going to happen is it's returning back the JoJo transaction type with the payload of Joe, and it returned back the transaction type of the payload for Brandon. But you can see that it did not return the transaction payload for Danny because it was a different transaction type that we called Super Happy Dragon Lucky, SHDL. So in that case, it would not show up in this case. But if we change the query type for the transaction type to Super Happy Dragon Lucky, we'll go ahead and be able to see the one transaction that was named Danny in that case. So there's a series of different other types of commands that you can use on SDLC. DCTL. On DCTL, you can see a number of different commands. There's the interchain command, where we can connect in with both Bitcoin and Ethereum. You could also query things like blocks, where multiple transactions combine into a block, and be able to query those specifically. Next week or in the future, what we're going to go ahead and do is walk through adding a smart contract. We allow you to take a Docker file and upload that to Dragonchain as a smart contract and use it. There's no need to learn Solidity or anything else. It's just ready to go. So we look forward to walking you through the smart contract piece. And until then, good luck and happy blockchaining.
All right, hello. That was episode D. Really good info from Danny on DCTL and from Alex and Sam on the customer service, the stuff that we're doing there. We wanted to make sure to talk to you about the new billing system coming and a couple of things that surround that. It should be out pretty soon. And the most important thing, the first thing that you'll notice is managed business nodes, level 1 nodes, will cost $99, and you'll get $10 worth of dragons with that on the sign up. And we will not, at least in the first iteration, be charging for verification nodes that are managed, but sometime soon managed verification nodes will be charged, and it's probably, we don't have all the details worked out, but it will probably be time-based. So if you have more time total and or applied, I'm not certain which, the node will be at a cheaper monthly rate. And beyond that, we also have seen a good influx of unmanaged level 2s, quite a bit more in the past week. We'll probably have numbers out soon. We're going to work on getting a metrics API up and a metrics page up as soon as we can, probably after billing comes out. And part of the billing itself, if you are paying in US dollar or with a credit card, one way or another, you will see a new entity on the invoice, the Dragon Company, which is set up to handle enterprise sales and all of the hosting operations. So I think that's everything for today. Tune in next week. We'll have some pretty good content and some unique things. So thanks. Bye.